So Peter Caltabriano, I founded a company called C-Suite Impact CFOs a little over 3 years ago. I'm based in New York City in the Wall Street area, which is Lower Manhattan. So Bodhi and I were introduced to one another probably almost 10 years ago when he was doing a lot of work for the CFO Center, and I was the CEO for our US operations, and he started working with me as a coach, and we just became really good friends. I left the CFO Center back in 2019, and Bodhi and I just remain connected and speak regularly. And when he's in the US, we usually catch up. And if I ever make it back to Australia, I'm pretty sure I'll catch up with him to do a little bit of surfing, hopefully with him. It wasn't that I decided at the time. I've continued to work with Bodhi because I've decided to do that. But the CFO Center just wanted to bring that work-life balance to its people in the way that Bodhi teaches it. About putting me first and that being okay. So that's really how the relationship started. Cards on the table, I was a little bit like, ooh, I don't know if this is for me. But as we got to know each other, spend some time together and work together, I thought, this is exactly what I need. And I fully embraced it. And when I fully embraced what Bodhi brings to anybody he works with, it changed things for me. And even up until this day, everything I do is centered around, the conversations and the time I spend with Bodhi, just to be better, personally, professionally, husband, father, and everything else in between. As a husband, from the time and the conversations I've had with Bodhi, it really helped me to look within and identify what's important to me in my relationship with my wife. It also did the same thing for me, my daughter. She came off of time growing up in the UK as an American, but when we got back to the US and she was getting ready to go from sixth form to university and being reintroduced to America, because she left America when she was very young, she realized she wasn't as very American as she thought. And she was much more British. So it was a very tumultuous time for her, very challenging time for her. But through working with Bodhi, and understanding, how to communicate better and be open and honest with myself and with her, we got through it. And it really made a difference in not just my life, but my daughter's life. My daughter's name is Haley, and my wife, Nancy. And in professional life, it's, you hear Bodhi say it often, and it goes over in my head every day, all day. It's, live the life you choose, not what somebody else chooses. So, it was, the reason for leaving the CFO Center and starting C-Suite, but it touched every part of my life from business to personal. Your relationship with money is something Bodhi talks about often because it's very personal to everybody. Doesn't matter who you are, whether you got a lot or you don't have any. So being able to, change my relationship with money and just think about it in a different way, and thinking about it, if you're doing all the right things by yourself, not alone, but for you, and understanding that there's nothing wrong with that. It's going to touch other people as well by doing so. It's usually something people from the outside looking in struggle with, but as they get to know me better and realize that, although I'm doing everything me first, I'm also there for them, and a support mechanism for them. And yeah, so financially, what it enabled me to do is to be able to say, okay, you know what, I can go off and do this on my own, realizing, what, I wasn't on my own, after I got into it, because I brought in business partners, and using what Bodhi taught me to in my relationship with them. Starting a business at the beginning of a pandemic was very scary. It wasn't intended to be that way. but it turned out to be fortunate, and I probably wouldn't have looked at, well, I know I wouldn't have looked at it that way if it wasn't for Bodhi, because he was able to, really help me look inside and take care of me first. And by taking care of me first, it meant, being able to share that with others. Yeah, we talk about freedom all the time, and what it's meant is that, have very little me time, time that's mine. So being able to say, cut some time out for yourself, whether it's going to a yoga class where I can completely disconnect from everything and spending a lot of time doing yoga. And if I want to do it in the middle of the day, I will. If I want to do it in the morning, I will. If I want to do it at night, I will. Or just, picking up a book and running across the street. There's a nice little, area in one of the buildings here where I work, where I could just have some quiet time to either meditate or read and just spend that time on my own. I leave my phone in my office. The only thing I have is my car key, so I get back into my building. But there's no distractions, and being able to just be free within, time for me, and because time with my daughter is time for us, but it's not me time, and it attaches itself to putting yourself first and being able to understand, look, the time you spend with family, friends, or colleagues isn't your time. It's their, it's, I guess, shared time. So being able to find that freedom to say, hey, I'm going to take time for me each and every day, whether it's meditating or exercising or just, on a nice day, getting out for a nice long walk. The power of meditation, 100%, and carving out time. It doesn't always go according to schedule, but it doesn't have to be on schedule. It just, as long as it happens. And I was reading a fiction novel not too long ago, and he was describing this app he was opening, and I know it was Headspace, even though he didn't call it Headspace in the book. And Bodhi introduced me to Headspace. So, and in the book, he talked about how his wife forced him to do this because it was going to help. And he makes like you're reading his thoughts in the book, and one of the comments he made was, it did help. So it's also helped me in the same way. I have worked with sales coaches, executive coaches. So I've worked with many, and I'm surrounded by them all day. Well, I'm surrounded by them a lot, but most days. And I think, I know what the big difference is Bodhi, when he says life work balance, he really means it, but he also shows you, what it means. It's not just something you blurb out and you can make it happen. You've got to work at it. So being able to balance work and life between all those things we've been talking about, business, personal, and me. He does what he says he's going to do. He truly does care. The work he does with young men is amazing. It's anytime I talk about Bodhi or to Bodhi, I get emotional. So that probably lots of love.